wondering how I got into this mix.
Hey, what's up everyone? This is Derrick Broze of the Conscious Resistance Network. Today is Friday, October 27th, 2017, and I'm just giving you a quick update on my stories, articles I've been working on, and I haven't been doing an update for over a month now. I've been on the road, came back from the Decentralize Your Life tour, and I'm home now, and I do have a new podcast, a live show that I'll be launching in November, maybe December, depending on how quick I get it together. It's going to be a live broadcast directly through Facebook and YouTube, bringing you guests, important guests from politics and philosophy and beyond, also covering current events and more. So stay tuned for that. But for now, I'm going to cover a few quick stories that I've written in the past couple weeks for different outlets that I think are worth your time. And I'm only going to mention these in passing, so take your time looking through them and getting to know them on your own. They each deserve your time and attention. If you've been paying attention to international news, especially today, then you know that there is a dilemma unfolding in Catalonia, Spain, where the people, at least 40% of the population, 90% of 40% of the population, have voted to secede from the Spanish government, the central government there. They're an autonomous region, and they want even more autonomy and independence, so they're voting to be completely free. And plenty of people support this. Some people obviously are against it, but at the end of the day, people want to be free, and even if one person wants to be free, they should be able to secede, so to speak, and remove themselves from the state. Unfortunately, we have an involuntary relationship with institutions such as the state, government, etc. But it's important for us to question that and to push against that. And I think also this issue, this example, shows perfectly clear how the state, be it American state or the Spanish state, they do not care about the people's will. They'll force themselves on you. So any attempt at secession will eventually be crushed. And today we're seeing in Catalonia the Spanish government imposing direct rule after they have held this vote, which was declared illegal by the state. Of course, the states are going to declare it illegal because it's going against them. Not to mention, Catalonia is a huge economic benefit to the Spanish state, so they don't want to let go of that economic resource. As well as just the message it could signal to other nations and other regions around the world. What if this starts to become a trend and we push away from globalism towards autonomous communities or autonomous neighborhoods? And this article I think is worth your time because it catches you up with the whole situation, a little bit of the history, as well as the philosophy behind why this relationship, this involuntary relationship, is something of the past, or it should be left in the past. And it also talks about economic secession, aka agorism, so check that one out. I also recently wrote this one this week. This is about a big story people have been paying attention to. Feldman, he asking for public support to help expose pedophilia in Hollywood. He launched a crowdfunding campaign, and let's check it out and see how much it's raised now. But he was, been speaking recently in regards to this accusations about Harvey Weinstein and, this ongoing campaign where people are revealing sexual assault, not just in Hollywood, but all over the country, all over the world. And Feldman had spoke about this before, of course, but he spoke a little bit about this on Harvey Weinstein. He said people are constantly bugging him and asking him to reveal what he knows about Hollywood pedophilia, since he spoke about this in the past. And he released a video earlier this week and decided to do just that. And he's claiming to want to raise like $10 million to put out a big Hollywood production. It says he has raised $143,000, 1% of his goal. And of course, some people are questioning why it has to be so much, and if he's really just trying to gather money or get attention because he's a burnout star. I don't know. I think the guy has some information. Of course, anytime there's money involvement, people are going to be critical. I don't know if we can really judge without being in their shoes, but I'm sure if he has information, as he's alleged for quite some time, he's probably very afraid for his life. He said specifically he can name 6 names that lead up to a Hollywood studio. Rumors have been told, stories have been told, made up about me, all because they fear what I know as the truth. And so it goes on and on and on discussing this. If you don't know anything about this, then please read this article. Also check the end of the article. I included some history. If you go further down the rabbit hole, you can look into the Franklin scandal, look into a documentary called Conspiracy of Silence, and there's others that have come out. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but people have showed me other documentaries that are already out about, I think it's called Open Secret, and you can find that one about this whole Hollywood pedophilia thing, and it gets into the larger research on pedophilia, political connections to pedophilia and to these sort of horrible crimes, as well as media and such. And I think it is a very big secret, open secret in some circles, that needs to be revealed. So either way, I'm glad that he's bringing attention to this. This one I wrote a couple of weeks ago. This is not for the faint of heart, because it's a 3,000 word article that I put a lot of time into, several weeks worth of research, and it's called "Yes, the U.S. Government Has Experimented with Controlling Hurricanes," and it's about just that topic. So you can read this article, you can see that I do not get into conspiracy theories about HAARP or whether or not the recent hurricanes have been engineered themselves. I'll leave that to other people. But I do get into the facts around hurricane modification. And what we've noticed in the past couple months is increasing in articles saying, no, we can't modify hurricanes. And yes, it's time to start considering this. And I decided to just do a history, because I study weather modification, specifically geoengineering, for the past few years, 7 years, and this particular area I haven't delved too much into, so I went further into it, looking at the history of weather modification back to the 1870s, the 1800s, the people known as the rainmakers, and General Electric's involvement, the U.S. Army Corps, Air Force, discussions on manipulating hurricanes, different times when hurricanes were supposedly manipulated and there was disasters taking place, people from other governments like Mexico accusing the U.S. government of manipulating hurricanes, and on and on and on, and of course the military's use of this. And what I came to find out, and I really advise anyone who's interested in this to please look into this article and read it. What I found in this case is that the information, the documents, and the research shows that weather mapping, weather modeling, predicting the weather, it came from the military with the specific goal of using that to try to then start trying to deter or change, manipulate the weather, because they figured if they could predict it, then they could learn how to modify it as well. So everything that we know about the weather that they use for weather predictions and the Weather Channel, all that technology, those modeling, came with the purpose from the military of trying to eventually modify and alter the weather. So please look into that if you've never looked into that research. Another one I did for Mint Press News, this is called "FDA Action on MDMA Gives New Hope to Researchers and Victims of PTSD." And if you've never looked into PTSD treatments such as MDMA, there's other types of PTSD treatments. I've seen flotation tanks, alternatives to the psychotropics and the pharmaceutical industry solution. And MDMA is a compound commonly known on the street as ecstasy or X or E, a variety of things, and it's known for its association with the counterculture, rave festivals, and recreational drug use. But many people might not be aware that it actually has a history going back to the 70s and the 80s of being used to treat different people for their therapy and for depression and a number of different illnesses, and it was a popular treatment. But of course the drug war came about, and things like MDMA and other psychedelics and other positive compounds that can help humanity were banned, were prohibited by the state and by the government. And since then people have been fighting hard to change that and to reverse the course. Specifically a group by the name of MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, have done a lot of great work. And this article I wrote, I interviewed one of the researchers involved with the most recent studies on MDMA and people with terminal anxiety, like they have life-threatening illnesses or terminal illnesses and they're experiencing lots of anxiety. So they'll test MDMA and psilocybin, mushrooms, and other things to see how that affects these people. There's been studies with meditation and psychedelics recently, music and psychedelic. I mean, just this whole psychedelic research renaissance is taking place. And I also interviewed one of the organizers of the Horizons psychedelic conference in New York City, Dr. Neil Goldsmith, and he discussed, that he doesn't even think it's just a revival of the research itself that's the big picture. Of course, that's happening now. We're seeing, we're seeing lots of these studies come about and lots of new information. But according to him, he says, quote, "The actual renaissance of society will begin once these compounds are rescheduled." And what that means is once certain tests are passed, which they're moving forward with phase 3 clinical trials. They're estimating by 2020, 2021 that MDMA could be prescribed as a treatment for depression, PTSD, and then once it's rescheduled in general, it can be prescribed for a number of other things. So this is really paving the way for people to get their medicine that they need. I believe that all free people should be able to choose what they put in their body and how they medicate themselves and treat themselves, and that the government really should have no involvement in that. But that's not the situation we're living in right now, so I'm thankful for at least for these steps, and I hope for a day where people fight for true decriminalization and not legalization in the sense of getting the state involved. And when I say decriminalization, I mean just let it be used and traded like any old plant, lettuce, any other product, bleach, anything else that you could potentially use to kill yourself or harm yourself or get to an altered state of mind that is not regulated like these chemicals in these plants. Just let it be free, and people will do with it as they please. Get the government out of it totally. But yeah, check that one out. That's really important for PTSD and for helping us move forward in a lot of ways. I also did an interview this week on RT. You can see it right here, YouTube Witch Hunt. And basically I was asked to come on here and discuss the situation where RT, who they're one of the first YouTube channels to pass 1 billion users, I think, or 1 billion views, something like that, a few years back. And so because of that, one of YouTube's executives came on their channel and appeared there, and the New York Times recently wrote an article basically attacking that dude and, you know, attacking RT and just more Russians into the enemy propaganda type stuff. And so they wanted me to come on there, and I really didn't want to focus on the RT and just be there to defend RT, so I made it more about how YouTube, Facebook, and the New York Times and these people are attacking alternative viewpoints, and they're using YouTube, you know, they're bringing YouTube videos down, and they're bringing Facebook view counts down and making it harder to reach an audience because they it's just a part of their plan, and they're just using this whole like Russians the enemy as a way to attack RT right now. But ultimately what it's about is attacking independent views and alternative viewpoints. So that's what I did. If you want to check that out, it's on their channel right there. It's also on the Conscious Resistance Facebook page. And just briefly, these last couple ones, these are a bit older. I wrote these earlier in October, but as I said, I haven't done this podcast in more than a month, so I'll just run through this. A study found a dangerous pesticide known as neonicotinoids in 75% of honey tested from around the world. So some people got this, you know, confused, I think, and obviously they didn't test all of the honey in the world, but they tested honey, 198 types of honey from around the world, different countries, different parts of the globe, and of the 75, or of that they found that at least 75% of them contained this pesticide. And then of that 75%, 30% contained at least one neonicotinoid, where 45% contained 2 or more, and 10% had 4 or 5. And I've written about this neonicotinoid for years. This article has several studies that I've followed, and you are welcome to look into it, get deeper into this. But yeah, most of the honey you're eating probably has this dangerous pesticide that's been leaked to cancer and other things inside of it. So look into that, maybe do some research on where your honey is coming from. It's hard to really protect it, because even if you're, say, buying honey locally, it doesn't mean that pesticides weren't spread and contaminating the bees and then getting into the honey. Other one here, the American Heart Association recently said that meditation may reduce heart disease. And I always like a good article to write about meditation, because I believe in the power and the benefits of meditation, and I try to include that in my life in a variety of ways: flotation tanks, sitting meditation, walking meditation, biking, just riding, getting in my own mind and my own heart. So this article just backs up what we've known and people have talked about for years, that meditation has a variety of benefits, potentially for lowering heart disease, for stress, for we have helping sleep better, helping people with depression, helping people get off pharmaceuticals, and on and on and on. This article looks deeper into that. So if you've never looked into meditation, check that article out. Share it with somebody who may be skeptical of meditation and the benefits of it. It's not woo-woo stuff. It's something that's as old as humanity. And finally, this one is going back to way earlier in the month. But if you haven't seen this yet, I wrote this: Trump's border wall approved by House panel includes drones, DNA collection, biometric scans. The Trump border wall bill, which is actually known as the Border Security for America Act, look that up, has been already approved by the House, and it's supposed to be making its way to the Senate. It's a $10 billion bill that would help build this wall, Trump's wall. And if you haven't noticed, they actually put out some prototypes for the wall recently, just in San Diego. They were showing the first prototypes for the companies who are proposing to build the wall. And as I've said for a while, this wall and all this sort of BS about fighting immigrants, it's not what it's really about. It's just the way they're selling it to people. It's about controlling people, monitoring people, surveying people. And this is obvious when you look at this bill, that in addition to the $10 billion to build the wall, it also tries to ask for an additional $5 billion to upgrade the nation's ports, to build biometric systems and have them up and running at 15 of the nation's busiest airports and seaports within the next 2 years. And after 5 years, all land and seaports would require biometrics to be running. In addition to this, they said biometric scanning of all people who exit and enter the United States, both citizens and foreigners. The text of the bill also calls for DNA collection of any person filing an immigration form. Says that the DHS and the Department of Defense are going to deploy drones and automatic license plate readers all along the border. The bill also allocates an additional $125 million to upgrade the automatic license plate readers of the Border Patrol. And finally, it allows the National Guard and the military to be called upon for intelligence gathering, surveillance activities in the name of securing the border. So look further into that. If you don't know about now, that bill and that whole idea is just about controlling people. It's about keeping you in. They're already talking about the Real ID starting to restrict interstate travel. You need to pay attention to what's going on, because these things are not about protecting you. These people don't care about you. They're just out there to get what they need. So check out all these articles and the interviews I've put out over the last couple weeks. As I said, I'll be back to do a new podcast, the Conscious Resistance Live. It'll be a live broadcast, video broadcast, really well done. Hopefully everything goes well. I'm getting all the equipment, getting all of the necessary tools, and I'll be back soon, hopefully November, if not December. Thank you guys for the support. Continue to follow us on the Conscious Resistance Network on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.